Got diamonds on my neck, got diamonds on my record. 616 coming down, riding Lexus. How you gonna neglect this? You was just a hot mess. You can call Tyrone. You ain't got to lie, Craig. What about my body? You don't want my body? Acting like I'm nobody. You gon' make me call somebody. What about my body? You don't want my body? Acting like I'm nobody. You gon' make me call somebody. Let's go. Come on. Oh, come on.
Oh, no!
Oh, come on. Little kitty cat. I think it's time to go.
Oh,
That's
girl.
not fair. That's not fair.
Yes,
That's
it
not
is.
fair. Okay, I
Yes,
need y'all
it
to.
is.
You need to set me up. Cause
Yes,
I haven't
it
heard that
is.
song in so
Wow.
long.
I
feel set
am
up.
not
I feel
here to make
embarrassed.
up for your deficiencies. If Beyonce says jump, my nigga, you say how high.
First of all,
And-
you know I'm so bad. Like literally every
fucking up the
time.
lyrics.
I
never,
always mess it up.
never knows the lyrics.
Always.
Never. It's disgusting.
Oh man.
Frustrating.
Hi. Welcome
Hi.
back again to Tuesday Queens. I'm Miss Malachi. I'm joined by the lovely Miss Devereaux, and we have a special guest who we're gonna introduce in a minute. I guess it could be now. Our special guest is Cameron Johnson,
Hi.
writer.
Do I get a fake
Hey.
name? Do I get a fake name to go with? No, we're good. Okay.
Oh,
I'm
we should
Cameron
work on-
Johnson. I'm Cameron
Oh,
Johnson.
yeah.
That's who I am. That's my brand.
Auntie CJ. Auntie CJ.
CJ.
Oh, Auntie CJ, I love that. I love
I'm
that.
really
girl.
just my so much of my identity is being an uncle now. It's just like I am uncle to Ethan and Hollis, and they are incredible, and they are adorable. And I spend quite a lot of my time looking at pictures of them and like being like, oh my god, is she? And like thinking about like words that they're saying or not saying, pretending that they can talk. It's lots of fun.
Oh, babies.
Love babies. Huge fan.
We're going to talk a lot about you and what you do, but I have to start off by saying, writer, producer, comedian, would I say? Sometimes.
Sometimes, not always, but sometimes.
And friend of the show, friend of mine, and Miss Devereaux.
Mm-hmm.
So, this week, y'all, we got a whole bunch of firsts. Hopefully this audio works out because we got a different kind of setup to allow our wonderful guests. One of us is on the road, which we will talk about. So that's new. And yes, we have our first guest. So exciting. How are you, Miss Devereaux? What's good, girl?
Well, girl, I actually wanted to know about your Corona getaway, girl. How was it? How was she?
Don't put it first of all, don't put it like that, okay? It's like a getaway from Corona. Like,
Yes.
So, first of all, everybody got tested before we went to the house. Like, there's
Okay.
about 5 of us. We all made this agreement. Bitch, don't show up there without, having your test papers. And we had rules about people not going to, other places and making sure, we had a wonderful person with us who, oh shit, see, I'm already
You had a girl like,
did
did you have a girl like me there? You had a girl who was really about that quarantine life?
about wiping down, because you wiping down groceries. You're wiping down
washed
groceries, right?
I wiped
Wipe
down
it.
groceries.
Wipe
I
it.
Wait. The thing
Exactly,
about wiping down groceries at this point is that the science tells us that that's not necessary. But like if you personally, like spiritually in your heart of hearts, like in the kitchen of your soul, feel like you need to take a Lysol wipe to a packet of chicken, then like then okay. Like
Girl,
I
it's like-
can't mock anyone at this point for like doing what they need to do to feel safe, as long as they are acknowledging that is not actually making them safer. This is just a thing that's making you feel safe.
Okay, it's like using a condom and PrEP, though, girl. It's like
That's
the
stupid.
double dose.
That's
bitch.
stupid.
That's
a waste.
what it is.
That's a waste of pills, and frankly, a waste of rubber. Rubber is a natural resource. Vinyl is made from petroleum. You don't need to do all that.
God.
If you're gonna take the PrEP, then I mean,
Girl, but girl, I'm herpes free over here, girl. I'm chlamydia free. I'm gonorrhea free, girl.
Chlamydia is 2 shots and a weekend. Like, you good. That's fine.
That's one less doctor appointment for me, bitch. So, right? Okay.
That's it.
I mean, we were all safe. Like that, we were all, trying to make sure. I mean, we didn't even go to the grocery. We just had delivery. Like even for coffee, like when we had Starbucks, because you were there as well, Mr. Johnson.
So we're
even
just
for
doing
Starbucks. Were we
It's
not?
fine. It's fine.
Were we? Bitch!
It's fine. Oh, so we're doing
You
that.
called that hoe out,
So we're doing
bitch.
Was I not?
I mean,
It's totally fine.
I
It's
asked you
totally
what
fine.
was
It's totally
hands
fine.
off.
It's
Hey,
totally
you-
fine. It's totally fine. I just have to tell one of your most fervent listeners that I did this. She knows I did it, and I know I did it, but we're just not talking about it.
Do we need to
fine.
redo?
No, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're going to keep going. Let's just keep going.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she's judging you anyway, bitch.
Exactly.
I mean,
quietly and loudly.
About, girl.
Well, try and make the good. Okay, are you ready to move on? Are we?
No, I think it was
make it look better.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing about traveling during COVID. I think that everyone has different risk tolerances. There are people who, like, you absolutely need to stay in your goddamn house all the time. But I am single. I live alone, and I work from home. And so my job is essentially thinking all day and typing stuff, and then I'm like, okay, cool. Well, it's 6 o'clock, so the day is over. I guess I'll stare at a screen or like talk to someone. There's nothing, even though we're at home, there's nothing about this that is relaxing. So if you can if you can find a way to like spend time around other human beings safely, then that's a good thing. Now, sometimes you can pick the wrong motherfuckers, which is what I did the last time I went to Palm Springs. And got a little awkward, but we had a good time. Maybe someone they were a little more reckless than I was. Not they were bad people. We had a fun time together, but one of them called me 3 days later and was like, "Hi, sorry, so I can't taste anything and I have a fever." And I then had to lock myself in my house for the next week, go get tested to make sure that I didn't develop COVID. And I didn't. None of us did. But that's the beauty of outdoor socializing. As long as you are outdoors, you are probably fine. But it was a scary weekend. So, I went with a responsible set of women to a beautiful house in a very nice neighborhood in Palm Springs, and I would happily do it again.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to wait to be messy. I was going to wait. Oh my God. But it's like, this is the perfect time. Okay. So I'm thinking back, girl, to March 8th. I'm thinking back to 2020, a certain birthday party at a certain girl's house, right?
Oh, we're doing that? Okay.
Yeah, we're doing that. And a couple girls who are on this podcast right now were present, girl. Me, present company excluded, because I was not there. I was.
We don't need to dance around this. I had a birthday party on March 8th, 2020. It was a delight.
It was a delight. Okay, so now Miss Malachi was there, right?
Yes, she was.
Right before I caught a flight to London.
Exactly.
In a jumpsuit with her dick out, with business in the street, just visible bulge.
There was just bulge. Thank you.
Okay. So I just want to know, what were you hoes thinking, though? What were
it was still thinking? Okay. First of all, it was still early days. Like we were talking.
I will acknowledge early days. That I did not understand how serious this was until after that party. So I was looking at the LA numbers, and there were 10 cases in LA. And I was like, this isn't a real thing. I see this thing happening in China. China's had a number of outbreaks over the years. There has been swine flu, there's been SARS, and they never seem to make it over to the US. And so this is the thing I'm going to see on CNN. And then I went to a meeting a couple of days before, and no one would shake my hand. And I was like, that's odd. Like, this very prominent showrunner, we had a lovely meeting, but she was like, I'm not hugging people or shaking hands because of COVID. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I had the party, but in having the party, I was like, okay, well, no, I don't really know what COVID looks like. So I made sure, so I was like, let me get individual. I have two lists of people that I invite to things. There's like a long list, and then there's like a shorter spreadsheet of people who I really enjoy. And I just was like, let me make this a small spreadsheet party. I went to 3 different beverages and more and bought enough individual champagne bottles so no one would have to share anything. And it seemed like, and it was a wonderful party. It was a wonderful event. And I have 2 friends who had COVID who didn't come. They didn't know that they had COVID at the time, but they were like, I'm just really sick. I don't really know what's going on. I'm not going to come. I feel really bad. One of them, when I were going to have dinner that next week, and he was just like, I just don't want to endanger you. So just like, we'll stay home. So I feel like, fortunately, I have responsible friends, and no one was, and it wasn't a super spreader event. And frankly, it was the last social event that the vast majority of my friends attended. So if you were going to begrudge us an electric slide over disease, then I don't understand. Like, I feel I don't understand why you would do that, sir. Would you not have done it?
Oh, of course not. Of course not.
Come on. Why are you even asking that question? You know Miss Devereaux.
Now, here, let me tell you why, okay? Me and a certain girl who's going to admonish you for being in Palm Springs last weekend.
Right.
Me and that girl, right? we were already talking the weekend before. We were on February 28th, tease, and we were like, okay, this is our last hurrah. Like, I went out to dinner with my family, with my mom, my brothers, and I told all of them, I said, this is our last weekend doing anything. We are in the house after February 28th, 29th, March 1st, and we're in the house. Now, of course, they went to Joe Biden events. They went to luncheons with, you know, COVID ladies. They did all type of tea. Of course, they're okay, but I'm just saying, I was in the house after March 1st. I haven't seen a friend since February, whatever. Like,
That's beautiful. I love that journey for you. But
so how are you? That wasn't your journey, though.
That just wasn't going to be my journey. I was like, let me not be reckless. Let me be as smart as I possibly can. But I mean, if you really want to drag me, that the party is not the thing you should drag me for.
Yeah, I thought that was off limits. I thought I didn't want to go there. But
the party is not the thing you should drag me for. What you should drag me for, if we're gonna drag Cameron Johnson's Corona strategy, was in December. I was having a difficult time in my professional life, and I decided to take myself on a lavish vacation. In discussion with Dr. said, I think I was gonna go for the weekend of my birthday and then have a birthday party the next weekend. And I decided, no, I'll have my birthday party on the 8th and then I'll go to Mexico on the 12th. Okay. So on the 8th, I had my birthday party, and on Thursday, March 12th, I left my office, I got on a plane, and I went to Puerto Vallarta.
And that's the same day Miss DJT, Donald J. Trump, talked about shutting down the borders with Europe and everything, right? That was the same day?
That happened after I landed. So, like, after I was checked in, and then I was I was at the W Punta Mita, which is lovely, by the way. Highly recommend.
Can't wait. 2021.
2021, gonna be great. I was there, and then the next day, they were on CNN talking about shutting down the borders, and I was like, this is probably not the smartest thing I've ever done. So I was just like, this is probably kind of stupid. And then if you ever want to be terrified, so the thing, PV is a cruise ship hub. So there were all these cruises that were canceled, and so in flying back to LA, I was surrounded by elderly Australians. I didn't have a mask. I didn't have one bit of hand sanitizer, not a soap. I didn't even have water-based lube. Nothing, just to clean it off. And there was this Persian woman in front of me who was like, I was like, can I have some hand sanitizer? And she gave me wipes and sanitizer, and I wiped down my whole area and sanitized my hands. And then thank God for the privilege that is global entry, because I didn't have to wait in a line. Ooh. I walked right past those motherfuckers. I had the car picked me up, and off I went. And so, and then I stayed in my house.
Okay. So that was the same day that Miss Malachi actually flew back from London, you know, emergency last minute. That's the same day you left to go to Mexico. I just want to make sure the math was
check the timeline.
Yeah, I was checking the timeline, girl.
I had a lovely time.
Good. I'm so glad.
I want to reiterate, I had a lovely time.
I'm so glad.
I laid out on that beach. I drank a lot of margaritas. My room had both a private pool and a private hot tub. All I needed to bring with me was like a verse bottom or just bottom to like hang out. But that would have been it. That would have been it, just to be in the room and be accessible. But other than that, that's fine.
Y'all hoes fucking with my brand. So we gotta say, you know, this for me, this sponsoring trip I've been in my small little studio. I love her. She's cute. She's petite. So cute. She does what she needs to do. But I've been in her for 3 months. And for me, it was just a chance to get away from helicopters and fireworks that start at 2 a.m. And that can make it hard to sleep. Hard to sleep, crazy anxiety. So for me, it was like, yeah, and it was nice to see people, nice to be in present, and to do it as safely as we can. Because I think we'll get into it. I do think it is a spectrum about the risk you take. Like, you know, I've been having conversations with people who are like, oh, a family member died. And yes, I could not go, but my parent wants me there. Like, and it's like, you are accepting risk in those situations. And I think, I don't know, I think we're getting to this point where, like, when it really is looking like, this is 2021. This is the year. Like, we're not just going to overcome this and it's going to be okay. Like, this is going to be with us for a bit, that I think people are going to have to make those type of harder decisions. Am I going to literally be a recluse for the next 6 to 9 months? Or am I going to accept some risk so I can see a family member, see a person I care about? take a vacation to get some
space.
So,
get some D.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Don't do that. So anyway, let me try and get this train back on the track.
Okay, girl.
How are you this ever? How is your journey? So how were you this weekend? How was your 4th of July?
So you know where I was. You know I was at home. Yeah. So I was boycotting my family this weekend in their Corona barbecues. Okay, number one. Number two, I was at home solo. I was watching a certain infomercial, girl. It's called for this vitamin. It's called Advanced D, and I'm like, I ordered some of that just because I wanted some Advanced D in my life. Since I can't get any D,
you want that doctoral level, really?
Doctoral
you want, 3
level
to 500 level D. You don't just want that 101 intro seminar D.
So I ordered some of those vitamins off the infomercial that I had never seen before, and then, but girl, I got a story for you on some restaurant teas. Okay, so I called my 81-year-old godmother. I was like, "Oh, girl, what are you doing? What are you up to?" And she was like, "Oh, I just came back from the mall and I went to Olive Garden." And I'm like, "Bitch, Olive Garden?
Do you want to die? Like, what are you doing?"
She risked it all for Olive Garden, hoes. She risked it all for Olive Garden. She went inside and ate in the goddamn Olive Garden with her 80-something-year-old boyfriend too. And like, literally, both of them are like coined. Like coin. I'm gonna say that much. They have money, and they they risked it all for Olive Garden, bitch.
I just want to point out the luxury of everything you just described, because that woman is living a much better life than we are. That woman has easy access to dick. That woman is has someone to watch The Price is Right with her, and somebody to probably drive her to Olive Garden to enjoy her all-you-can-eat breadsticks and pasta side. That is that's goals. I'd say that's
Isn't that? That's goals, girl.
But also there's a reconsidering that happens of any choice we make is do you want to die over Olive Garden?
Yeah, and I think those girls...
unlimited salad and bread.
And, I mean, those breadsticks used to bang back in the 90s. I'm not going to lie. They did.
The 90s, they still... Well, yeah.
Why? I've
never been
90s,
to Olive
girl.
Garden.
Really?
What? Girl. Oh my gosh. Okay,
no, there was a guy who wanted to take me on a date to Olive Garden because I told him I'd never been to Olive Garden. And then when we went to go to Olive Garden, he hadn't Googled where the Olive Garden was anymore, and it was closed. So we ended up going to Chili's, and it was very hot, and we were outside, and I was like, this is not something I want to... Oh, and you're boring. Okay, I don't want to do this. And so yeah, that was that.
Oh, girl, you have so many dates, girl. You always got a date story, don't you?
I'm what's called a whore. It's fine.
Oh, I forgot.
We try.
Yeah, girl.
Well, we will get into Mr. Johnson's dating history in a bit. Before that, let's do some good news, bad news. Let's get to some stories. We have updates on a couple of stories, like the loss of sweet Elijah McClain and some of the officers who were involved in that. Did you... Gamma, I'm sure you're familiar with what happened to Elijah, where he was walking home with his headphones on, and I think
singing a song and dancing.
Singing a song, had on a mask, and then officers basically racially profiled him, proceeded to put him in another chokehold, and at some point, literally, because he partly, I think, a bit introverted or someone just who was could not handle that kind of energy that they were giving to him. Basically was starting to go into cardiac arrest. They had to get EMT there who gave them what was it, girl? Was it
ketamine, girl? They gave her ketamine. Yeah.
Some girls that we know's favorite drug. And yeah, he ultimately died. So there's been some interesting, with this happened. Oh God,
last year,
August 2019.
Right.
Yeah.
So it really was just out of public consciousness until it really started getting trending and people started really looking into the story and getting some of the footage of what happened, because apparently something happened with their body cameras, even some of the security cameras around it. That's what happened. So with this, we're having a little bit of an update with some of these officers getting fired, but it's just a whole thing. Do you want to talk about it, Mr. Devereaux, about...
Oh, yeah. So, okay, I'll talk about it. So basically, 4 officers, 3 of them got fired, 1 resigned. 3 of the officers who actually were either terminated or resigned, they were the ones who took a photo after the fact, reenacting the scene at the scene of the murder, really, doing a chokehold on each other. And then they sent a text message to one of the other officers who actually was, one of the murderers involved in the incident. and he replied, "Ha ha." So he got fired, and then those 3 officers, 2 of them got fired and 1 resigned. So a total of 4 out of 6 are got fired or resigned. So 2 of the officers, though, who actually committed the murder, are actually still on the force in Aurora, Colorado. So that's what's so fucked up. Okay, I'd actually rather the officers, all those motherfuckers need to get fired, like all 6 of them, right? But 4 out of 6 ain't bad. So we got 2 more left to go, right?
So that's one update there. The next one is about one of our favorite white women, Miss Amy Cooper, who had that whole moment with the fine-ass Christian Cooper.
Oh, yes.
I had some problems with him, kind of like he wasn't caping for her, but I was like,
he was.
I think people were kind of being too harsh.
I hate that shit. I
but
really
Amy,
do.
he has look. The minute we saw that photo and heard him talking about being a black birder, I said, I will bet you $300 to $700 that there is a white man named Seth or Jeff or Jason in his bed, and that and he was very concerned when he didn't come back with their coffees that morning. And hopefully we're never going to hear from him. So I think that there is a certain comfort that he has and compassion he has for the Caucasian kind that we saw in his reaction to what happened to Miss Cooper.
I could see that. Because Miss Cooper, for those of y'all who don't remember, she was the one who called the police on him because she had her dog off the leash while Mr. Christian Cooper was just doing a bit of bird watching. And then once he put her on camera, she proceeded to freak out and pretend like he was attacking her. So she is up for, the Attorney General, I think, in New York is filing, getting charges against her for, falsifying a police report. Now, there was some interesting tea around someone we know, Mr. Rona, I know, Mr. Mark Lamont Hill, kind of coming out against this, basically saying that he doesn't think Miss Amy should even be charged. Now, I have my thoughts on. I watched the video. Did you watch the video, girl?
Girl, I couldn't watch that whole video.
I
have my limits.
It's so silly. You watched it? You watched it. Okay.
Look at you.
Let's let our guests go first. What do you think, Cameron?
Wait, no, which video? We're talking about the Mark Lamont Hill video, girl. So, like, Mark Lamont Hill came out talking about, like, we shouldn't charge Miss Amy Cooper. We need to be abolitionist across the board. We need to be consistent. And I
don't think I have time. That's just like in like the realm of things.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm happy to give it a gander, but I think there's an uncomfortable truth, which is that there are a lot of black people who have made a sort of a craft works or a cottage industry out of assuaging the fears of white people by repeating their talking points. So there's of course we shouldn't judge Amy Cooper and we should be nice to her and make sure that she has chocolate milk and she gets to keep her dog and shit. And there's no real reason to do all of that. None of that really serves a purpose. So if that's what she was doing, what Dr. Hill was doing, then,
Well, let me say this much. In defense of Miss Mark Lamont Hill, Dr. Mark Lamont Hill.
I just also call people doctor for no reason. So
no, but he is doctor though. He is doctor though. He generally does not do that. He is not a placater of white people, but he says that, we need to be consistent because he's a police abolitionist. He believes we should abolish police, right? So charging her is antithetical to his particular cause. I say fuck that shit, right? I do think on this particular issue, he also disappoints though, because I think a lot of black hetero men, they can disappoint us a lot of times because they do. I mean, I think he's not generally one of those. I think in this particular instance, Dr. Mark Lamont Hill is one of those, but and I think, he's hetero, but I definitely.
Beyond that part,
I used to flirt with him way back. So.
Oh, girl.
Yeah. Girl, he was so fine though. But I feel like he liked the attention because he used to flirt back. I
think it was about the attention from what I remember from him from those days. But he's come a long way.
Love gay attention.
It's a spectrum. But just real quick on the abolitionist tea, I think there's just something there about. There still should be consequences. And a lot of abolitionists, it sent me to like reading Angela Davis, and even she, when they're talking about abolishing like the prison system, it's not about like, okay, prisons are just gone tomorrow, but it's about just taking away their presence in our society and limiting it. And then maybe we will get to a point where they truly are gone, but not before we've found other ways of either investing in the community, having centers, and finding other restorative ways, to have conversations with people who have had harm done to them by the people who harmed them. And there was nothing in that. There was nothing about what are the consequences that he thought Amy should face. It was just like, oh, well, she lost her job. That bitch is going to get another job. She lost her dog, which she got back. She got back the fucking dog. And then literally even toward the end of the video, he was kind of mentioning, oh, there's something about like this could, harm rape survivors. And even when he was talking about it, rape victims. And even when he was talking about it, he was kind of stuttering through it. It just felt like he was just grabbing for something. So
the only thing that I see,
Mark.
sort of glancing at his Twitter thread on this, is we also have to consider that these retributive approaches will not largely impact the powerful, who will be most likely criminalized if we intensify prosecutions for filing false police reports, not the Amy Coopers of the world. So that's true. Increased policing, it will lead to increased prosecutions of policed people, and black people are a policed people.
Yes.
But I wonder if specifically the way that we've adjusted, the way that hate crime legislation works, is there a way to make racially motivated calling up false police report filing illegal in some way? Though, I mean, then it's hard to prove motivation, and those are all sorts of questions. But yeah, girl, I honestly don't think, what are they going to charge Amy Cooper with? Or this is going to be very much like a slap on the wrist parking ticket kind of vibe.
Right.
But I don't know what a legal approach to dealing with, because the problem to dealing with
white people calling police on black people.
No, because I mean, what that really comes down to is a cultural desire on behalf of white people to police blackness. So every black person who's ever been black in a car in a white neighborhood knows that when a white person comes up and knocks on your window or says, "Do you need assistance?" or "Are you lost?" or "Can I help you?" they're mean, "Nigger, what the fuck are you doing here?" And even if they mean it in the most polite way possible, even if they could never even imagine saying those things, even if they voted for Obama 3 times, Hillary twice, and literally are planning and literally just murdered their Trump voting relatives. Racism is just in the heads of many white people, and it's not a character flaw; it's a behavior. And so until you can get white people to look at and question, so why do you think that person doesn't belong in your neighborhood? What is it about that person that makes it what is it about? And Amy Cooper wasn't stupid. If you watch that call, she looks at him with this wild look in her eyes, and she says, I'm going to call the police and tell them that there's an African-American man threatening me.
African-American.
And she says it with such venom and such antipathy that this bitch knows exactly what she's saying. She knows that the police will be on her side, and that they will show up quickly. And then you watch her raise the octaves in her voice as, she's like, "And I'm really scared. Oh my God, please come help me." She knows what she's doing. This isn't a stupid person. So, anywho, yeah, white people can be trashed.
I would have given that bitch something to be worried about. I always think about that. I would have given that hoe something to be worried about. I would have put a gun on that bitch. Well, I'm in Detroit though, but I would have actually gone to jail. I feel like I would have actually gone to jail.
Dr. Devere, you are a little more light-skinned. Dr. Devereaux, you are a bit more light-skinned than Dr. Malachi and I are, and I don't think that either of us would feel safe pulling out a weapon on these hoes in such a situation.
Yeah, I think I would. That's my that's my problem, girl. Because I'm quick to. Oh, girl, I shouldn't implicate myself on it.
So moving on to good news, bad news. The true good news, bad news for this week. I'm curious if this is good news or bad news. Ye is running for president.
Kanye West is not running for fucking president, and that is bad news. Period.
No, Miss Cameron, you said I think you had a tweet where you said, "Don't give this girl any attention. Don't feature her. Don't think about her." You want to expand on that at all, or what do you?
Of course. Look, here's the thing. So, I remember in 2004 when I first started listening to Kanye West, when you would hear his work, I would go to the gym, I would listen to New Workout Plan, I would listen to Overnight Celebrity, I had all the albums. I remember where I was and what I was doing the first time I heard Stronger. I was a Kanye stan. I've seen him in concert no fewer than 4 times, and I've said the words, there is no amount of money and that is not worth going to see a Kanye show, because Kanye is always that good. And I was really sad in 2016 when he died. It was really sad for me. It was hard that he just died in that horrible plane crash. And as a consequence, I never was going to be able to hear from him again, musically, or see what he can do, or hear his thoughts on anything. And so, as a consequence, there's this like weird ghost of him that wears a red hat that talks a lot. And, you know, that apparition seems to think that you can run for president simply by saying you can run for president, not that you have to, like, pay the $10,000 and register with the Federal Election Commission and then get your name on every ballot in every state, which the deadline for which was February 28th. So, like, if that, you know, ashen, depressed, big-lipped ghost thinks that he can, you know, run for president, then good on it. But, you know, the Kanye that I knew and loved is buried at Forest Lawn and, you know, in a gold casket with a Louis Vuitton backpack in the coffin. And that's that.
Oh. And I should say, you know, I should read the tweet. We must now realize, this is the tweet where he announced his run for presidency. We must now realize the promise of America by trusting God, unifying our vision and building our future. I am running for president of the United States. Hashtag 2020 vision. What do you think, Ms. Devereaux? You think it's going to happen?
You know, I think the thing is...
there's literally logistics that Cameron talked about. That's like, no, it's not happening.
But no, I just think that girl is bored. This is why. I think she can't get on her flights to Europe to go see Miss Ricardo Tisci to get digged down like she normally does. And I feel like because she
we've said it.
She can't get the dick. She can't get her normal dick. Like, I feel like that's fucking her up. Like, so she needs some attention. She needs to, you know, rile the girls up. I think that's part of what it is, girl. So she needs to just go ahead and book her private flight to Europe and get her authorization to land, girl, and get digged down. That's all it is. Like,
well, I wish when she goes, she would get back some of the money that she took from the Paycheck Protection Program. Miss Kanye, along with Soho House, which for those of y'all, you know, now I feel super bogus. But anyway, Soho House is a membership club that is in LA, New York,
Los Angeles.
Oh, see, I wasn't even going to say that. I wasn't going to say that. But yes, it is a really cute place. The downtown one.
There's the one in Malibu. At Soho House with
me. We don't have to put
my
business
out there.
Girls.
No, the New York Soho House. So the brunch at the New York Soho House slays all the rest.
You really haven't lived until you've been in the downtown LA Warehouse Garden, and they've got like a mariachi choir singing Aaliyah's covers, Lord like, God. And you're getting like your 5th Aperol Spritz from the Aperol Spritz station, and I'm just like, I don't know a better place. I don't know a better person.
So then,
it's great.
You should be happy that they got $9 million
from the staff
from the Paycheck Protection Program, along with Kanye. Kanye was able to get a $2 million, receive $2 million. I think $2 to $5 million. And remember, this is a program that's supposed to be more for small businesses, but, you know, find that loophole.
Well, quiet as it's kept. I mean, if you are, like, there are a lot of people who are, like, screenwriters who make their money through loan-out corporations, and accountants were telling us, take a paycheck protection loan, because and I'm like, and you're like, why? And it's like, well, you can pay yourself like 4 months of salary based on what you had paid yourself last year, and so you don't have to pay it back. And I was like, oh, that seems like a scam. But so I'm good. I didn't do it, but it is. There are a lot of people who were like not saving anybody's jobs, who were just like, I'd like 30 grand. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I talked to a girl that we all, well, at least me and Miss Malachi know, that who did something like that, but I think it's actually legit, because I feel like so many girls did it. They can't get all of them, right?
They can't get all of them, but the beautiful thing about being black is that they will find a way to get you. So I don't really want to be involved in such tomfoolery.
Yeah, girls. So I just think like, I know a lot of girls who went. So hopefully the feds don't come after those girls, because who got 13,000, 15,000, 10,000. You know,
do you know a lot of girls who?
I was scared of that type of tea, though. I didn't. You know, I was.
So did you not apply for it?
I mean, I applied. I applied for a legit program. No, not.
I was just asking a question.
Girl, no, I did, but they didn't give me that type of coin. They didn't give me that, and I'm glad. They only gave me like, a
couple
lot
pennies,
less than that.
couple
Yeah,
pennies.
a lot less than that. Girl. Let's just say that much.
I love how she's just completely avoided using any numbers, but earlier she said 13 to 14,000. So if I had to guess, the direct deposit was probably 13 to 14,000. But go off, sis.
Not for me, girl. Not for me. It wasn't anywhere close to that, girl. But I have a legit business. What y'all girls like? I like legit. I have like.
As do I.
I have two girls like who work under me, like periodically, like
periodically. Look how we went to periodically.
Yeah, girl. Yeah, and, I mean it's anyway.
And other news. Happy 4th of July, girls. Miss Devereaux, how you feel about this 4th of July weekend? How did the girls act? How you feeling?
Oh, girl, I saw the girls were out on Fire Island. The COVID girls were out there. Miss Corey Hannon, she put up some Facebook and some Instagram posts talking about Corey. She was on day 8 of Corona Girl, and she went out and on the beach with the girls in Fire Island, a New York City girl. So I don't know, we'll have to see what kind of super spreader event that turned out to be, girl, because I saw a couple of videos from Fire Island and Atlanta. The black girls were acting out too in Atlanta, girl. Can I just
ask a simple, straightforward question?
Yeah.
I understand the desire to go out and socialize, but why the fuck would you put that shit on Instagram in these days?
Because they don't realize, because they're just like, all their friends are there. Who's going to tell them not to do it? Like, they don't
Someone
realize.
is going to drag you. Like, someone is going to get you
together.
But
look
Someone's
at,
gonna drag you.
we didn't, I feel like we didn't talk about it enough, but those crowds, like, in those videos for, like, Fire Island, that's like, there are hundreds of people in those crowds. So why would you think it was anything wrong with that? I think all those pictures that came out for 4th of July, there were large groups of people. So, I mean, if everyone's doing it, girl, put it on the gram.
I was not in a large group of people at any time.
We were not. We definitely.
Good for y'all, girls. Good for y'all. I was at home, bitches. I was at home, girl.
I love that journey for you. That's
with
so
my
great.
PPP money, ordered
spending the government's money on Amazon.
Ordered stuff
Prime.
Online. No, I for real.
Vitamins and supplements.
Girl, no, I legit lost business because of COVID. I legit lost like a lot of business because of COVID.
I believe
I should have been one of those $2 million girls like Soho House. I should have been that type of girl. But anyway. I was at home, but also, so the Atlanta girls though, there was a video from this club called Compound in Atlanta. It was all black, like all black girls, and they were fighting in the club. Nobody had on a mask. Like they were like stacked like sardines, bitch. And it was some kind of pool party in Atlanta, girls. So it wasn't just white girls showing out. It was black girls showing out too, and I was disappointed.
If you haven't gotten into a bar fight in a gay club in Atlanta, are you even alive? Like, are you even black?
But like, here's the deal: this is not our fucking holiday. This wasn't our holiday, girls. Like, I celebrated my independence 19 days ago. So the girls were out celebrating like. I thought we were done with 4th of July.
We were not free then.
Yeah, so I was disappointed in those black girls. I was like, okay, this for the white queens. I understand. For us, like. We should have been, kikiing like you all you girls were in small groups or at home like me. Like, that's what it was about. Like, we weren't supposed to be partying out on the 4th of July.
Or at home like me.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what's our last story for good news? So I think this is a bad news story. I mean, well, yes.
Well, girl, we actually...
Because it's affecting all of us.
Yeah, we officially passed 3 million diagnosed cases, in the United States, although I think the real number is like 10 times that. There's so many undiagnosed cases. Like, I know so many people in Detroit who had corona who never were diagnosed because you couldn't get the test back in March and April. But now you can. And so, but yeah, there's actually... multiple states over the last week, Texas, Florida, etc., have gone over 10,000 cases in a day. So they're on like some New York in March and April type of tea. Like,
wow. Yeah,
girl, IC admission is up 90% in Miami-Dade County. 60 hospitals in Florida basically have reached their ICU capacity and counting. And actually, Miss DJT, oddly enough, is going to be in Florida tomorrow. So she's going to go and do some kind of drug task force event, and then she's going to go to an in-person fundraiser in Miami-Dade County, which is actually the epicenter of like the national coronavirus outbreak right now. So
I know you've been rooting for her to get it. She's not hiding.
It's gotten close to her daughter-in-law or her soon-to-be daughter-in-law.
Right.
Yeah, girl. And so No, on top of that, though, the Brazilian president, Jair Bolsonaro, he is a corona denier. He ended up with the COVID girl. So, who's next? Who's next? Okay.
I mean, Keisha versus Top got it in Atlanta.
Yeah, girl.
And so, Atlanta Mayor Keisha. But
she has no symptoms. Thank God, she has no symptoms. So hopefully, she just
Keisha. The trade is verse. Lance Bottoms. The trade is verse.
Hopefully she stays asymptomatic though, girl. I'm rooting for Mayor Keisha. That's my girl.
Absolutely, I want her to have a victory. Who knows what what white people's president is doing?
Well, he's pulling out of the World Health Organization. Like that's just so crazy.
These are just I don't get the. I felt like I understood the last Trump election. I got, okay, so this is what he has a clear narrative of what he's saying to these white people, which is that I'm mad and I'm mad like you are, and fuck Hillary Clinton. And so that sort of, and there was a clear, and I'm a business person and I'm wealthy, and even though those things weren't necessarily true, the business case was the case for why this person wanted to believe that they could be president made a lot of sense and was a compelling story for a certain kind of white. And I look at what is happening now, and I'm like, okay, so you're pulling out of the World Health Organization, you're pretending people aren't dying, and rather than just, I don't understand what the opportunity cost of saying, hey, this is really serious and we need to solve it would be, as opposed to, it's
acknowledging failure. It's acknowledging failure because she could have stopped it when at the beginning. We could have locked down. We could have had way fewer cases. We could have been like Europe, where we reopened legitimately right now and flatten the curve, right? And we never really flattened the curve in this country. That was a total failure on the part of the federal authorities.
It's just a weird. It doesn't really.
But I think
it doesn't make sense to me.
Some of it, I think, also that they don't believe it. They don't believe it's a serious threat. Because it's literally people aren't dropping dead in the middle of the street, and most of the people who are affected are not the people who look like them. So I think there's some of it that thinks that it is still overreaction, that maybe it is just a cold or flu, and maybe a bad one at that, but that they're okay with, they're okay with letting some people die so that they can keep the economy going. And that's a real tea.
Some of those girls think it is a conspiracy to make sure Donald Trump doesn't get reelected. Some of those girls legit feel that way. So
a lot of people are dead. A lot of people are dead. I don't know. A lot of people have lung damage.
Not a lot of white people. I don't think it's
a lot of
white
people are dead. And I mean, look, it's come to the truth has come to Arizona and Texas and Florida. So
it's coming now.
Woo!
And it's weird. One thing the media did do as a disservice, though, it felt like, okay, representation, that's great. They were talking about how it was affecting the Black community and then the Hispanic community. But literally, in Michigan, still half of those deaths were still white people, right? So, even though we were overrepresented as Black people in the deaths in a number of states, same with Hispanics, right? In a lot of states, Michigan, for instance, half the deaths were still white people. So white people, it really downplayed it. The media, the local media was basically making the case to white people, oh, this is the problem of the other. It's not your problem.
It's sickle cell 2.0.
But a lot of white people died. One of the girls I know who got COVID, and it was all in her workspace. The only person who died in her office was this middle-aged white man. He was one of the first people in Michigan to die from COVID. Ooh. So, I know I've actually read a number of stories of white people dying from COVID. So they don't see that portrayed as much in our local media. It's just always Black people, Detroit. So.
Well, they gonna learn because we got it for another 6 to 9 months.
So
until whenever that vaccine comes out. So y'all stay safe out there. But we're going to kind of switch gears a bit because we have our amazing guest. So we got our segment. I don't have a name for it. We're going to call it special guest.
Big dick energy. Big dick energy. Our guests give that type of tea.
Is that what we're going to expect to every guest?
Let me go get a wig. Let me just go get one of my wigs just to let that shit cascade, honey. Yes.
We could do big dick energy, tight pussy energy. We can switch it up based on
based on who it is,
certain preferences. Exactly.
Who it is.
Love it. So I think we've already kind of talked about how. Well, in some ways recently, how you've been dealing with the Rona, but in general, how has it affected you? How's quarantine been? Obviously, you felt like it's been hard. I think it's hard, especially on some girls who, for me, I feel like I'm probably more on the introvert side, and it's definitely been
Oh,
driving
you
me
think?
crazy. But
Think you're
I
introverted?
feel like anyone who's a bit more used to, being extroverted or just used to being very social, it's rough time. So how are you doing, girl?
I think the perfect example of like the perfect way to sort of encapsulate what this experience has been like is to look at what Pride Month was. So in a typical Pride Month for the past couple years, I would be at 4 to 5 parties a week. Like it would be like a weekday. Like I would go to the mayor's pride party, and then at the Waddles Mansion, and then I would go to my friend such and such's party, and then some little social club would have a party, and then someone else would be like, "Hey, can you make sure there are black people here?" And I would have to come with like 10 niggas deep to make sure that there were black people at the random Beverly Hills private social club party, and then there were my actual friends. Then there's like the day of Pride, which I would always post this joke of every single there was like a different activity every hour, and it was like for pretending to remember people's names, binge drinking, further binge drinking, being petty, like that, all of that, making fun of people's outfits. And so it was, and we did none of that. Like literally I did none of those things. And so it's been challenging for me in that I am a very social person. I love to go out, I love to host a party, I love to have people over, and you can't really do that safely. And it has required me to employ every technique I used when I was unemployed, when I was in my early 20s, then I've used here because I need structure. I need to apply structure to my days. So I have to force myself to, okay, so I'm going to get up and I'm not going to watch TV during the day. And then I'm going to go up into I turned my upstairs bedroom into an office, and that's the only place where I could focus. And what's been challenging about it is that professionally I've had a lot to get done. I've had a lot due. And so there are like 3 different projects that I'm working on, and there have been deadlines for every single one. And initially it was really hard for me to write because it was like I'm just laying on my couch, sweating, being annoyed, and I can't really be funny, and I can't really think of I can't really break this story. But I'm really happy with what I did come up with, and now that I have a system going, it's been much better. So yeah, it's hard, but it's fair. We're doing all right.
So tell us about some of the projects you're working on. Like who and what? Tell us about your background too. Like who are you, girl? Where'd you come from? Like
who are you? Where did you come from? Well, Gabrielle Union and and Beyonce's finest lace front wig had a child, and that child was me.
I love it.
No, I mean, I grew up in the Bay Area. I'm from Oakland, and I went to USC to be lying to my parents, telling them that I was going to be an attorney. My dad is a lawyer, and he was like, "You're gonna be a lawyer just like me." And I was like, "Of course you are. You're gonna pay for this tuition, right?" And he was like, "Of course I am." And then I just secretly pursued, kind of secretly, I got a degree in political science, but I also minored in screenwriting. And so at the end of my college career, I was like, "Surprise, motherfucker, I'm actually going to be a television writer." At which point he laughed in my face and then canceled all of basically just like I was as financially dependent on this man as one can be on a person. And so we had a fight one day, and the next day my credit cards were canceled, my gas card was canceled, my health insurance was canceled, my car insurance was canceled, and I lived in an apartment in a very fancy loft in downtown LA that is still, to this day, was until I moved into my current home, the most expensive place I'd ever lived. So it was the highest rent I'd ever had to pay. So with that said, it was real. It was real difficult. It was not. She was not equipped to like deal with those things. I had to learn how to like grocery shop and clean and do all of the sorts of stuff that people learn to do as they learn to adult quickly. And it worked out. I started working as a tutor because I needed to. I mean, I honestly couldn't. There's nothing more humbling than being told you are overqualified for Starbucks when you really need that job at Starbucks.
Ooh.
Like it's like I understand that like you think I don't know, you think I'm not serious about this job, but I'm more than happy to make this macchiato for you if I could
when that rent is due on Monday.
Woo, if I could just get that $8.25, if I could get that maybe that health insurance, like that would be wonderful. And so that was a challenging time. I started working as an SAT tutor. I did SAT, ACT, and private college counseling, and I did that for a big company at first, and then I did that for myself. In 2013, I quit. I wanted These white people were hilarious. I was the highest ranked tutor in their company, and I generated all of my own business. And I went to my bosses and I said, hey, what I want is I want a $5 raise and health insurance. And they said, no, I'm sorry, we can't do it. And mind you, there were white tutors at the company who were making twice what I did, but they didn't, and they were siphoning off. People would call in, I learned later, and say, ask for, hey, can I work with Cameron? And they would say, oh, Cameron's not available, but I can send you over to such and such. And so I quit, and I started my own business, and I did that for... I got white kids into college, and we did SAT and ACT and private college counseling for the next 5 years. And
did the feds get you, girl? They didn't get you, girl, did they?
What would the feds got me for? I paid my taxes.
LA, all that LAT, girl, all that LAT with the the college admissions.
Here's the thing. This is what I always said. It's kind of like when you're doing like test prep felonies, like you don't want to put it all the way in. You just want to give them the tip. You just want to like tease it a little bit and like make them really beg for it, but then not give it to them. So the thing is, I can do all of the things that Singer did up to the point of fraud. I know how to get your kid extended time. I know how to get even if they don't need it. I know how to pimp the system. I know how to teach strategy so that you can do that, so they can accomplish what they need to accomplish within the time constraints. I know how to teach them to do well on an exam. My average increase was, I think it was 300 or 400 points on the SAT and 5 to 10 on the ACT. And so I was good at my job, but it was but at a certain point I realized that if I was going to spend the rest of my life helping other people's dreams come true, then I was going to lose my fucking mind. And so I had wanted to be a writer, but I didn't really have a voice. There was like there were things that I wanted to write, but I always took my own experiences and just hid them in other people's. So I was like, I'm going to make up a character that is nothing like me, and maybe I have something in common with, and that'll be that. And so what I did instead is I was just like, what if I just write about me? And so the first thing I ever wrote that was from my own experience is a blog post called Is OkCupid for White People? And I had gone on some friends of mine had encouraged me to go on OkCupid because they had found their husbands on it. I did it for a year.
What color, what was the race of these friends who have found their husbands
The race was female. Was the race, and some of them were not, and some of them were nobody black told me they found a man on OkCupid, but I was just trying to be open, and so I did it. And I did it for about a year, and I got, I think I got on 2 dates, something like that, over the course of a 12-month period. My response rate was like 5%, something like that. Mind you, I am better looking than I was then. I've gotten the styling together, but it was still, I was not succeeding. And one day the Lord spoke to me and he said, Cameron, I bet money this is because you're black. So I went and borrowed a white man's photos. I asked a straight friend of mine who didn't live in LA if I could do that, and I made an identical profile to my own, and I put it on the internet. I didn't send a single message. I didn't follow anyone. I got 300 times the responses in 1 week that I had as myself in a year. And this is without doing anything other than signing up for the profile, answering questions, and letting it chill. And the gag of it all was that there were so many people who, several of whom I had conversed with. There was this one black guy who, when it was just me, he was like, "Oh, check out my YouTube channel. We're not a match though." And when it was the fake, when it was the fake profile, he had read through it and he had read every single word, and he was like, "Oh my God, a white guy who likes Prince and Beyonce. Would you please marry me? Oh my God, please, wife me up." And dick me down with that vanilla, and that was what he was really. But it wasn't, and so that went kind of viral, and then from there I made a web series called, using the money that I'd made doing test prep, called Try This Instead, which is about sort of how to not piss off your black friends, sort of basic things. Don't shoot us, don't touch my hair, just the basics. And then that got me my first staff job on a show called that, combined with a pilot I'd written called Side Pieces, which is about being a side hoe. I know nothing about that. I don't know what you're talking about. And
well, I know everything about it, girl. So if you need any inspiration for anything in the future, just let me know.
Well, the Lord has saved me. My heart has been changed. I don't do that anymore. But when
You're
I
on
did,
the right show, girl. You're on the right show.
you know, it's beautiful. Other people's husbands are no longer, or boyfriends are no longer enticing to me. But that wasn't the case in 2012, or 2013, or
We all start
2014,
somewhere. We all start
or
somewhere.
2015, or 2016. So I
That's all
wrote
right.
that. And so those pieces got me my first job on a show called Zoe Ever After, which was
With
on BET,
Brandy.
starred Brandy. It was lovely. It didn't go on the run was very short. It was a small room, and then I sort of, and from there, from that moment forward, I've basically been aggressively pursuing staffing and development since then. So I sold a show in 2017 and then resold it again last year. It's still alive to, it's now at Peacock. It's called White People Problems. It's about a wealthy, dysfunctional black family, not mine, but close. And then you know, I sold a show called Diversity Hire to Fox last year. That continues to be about a black girl who is whose boss accidentally donates to the Klan, and then she's an engineer, and they go downstairs and they're like, you engineer, you come be our diversity executive now. And sort of its intention was to be a sort of an indictment of diversity culture and how appearance in diversity culture is so much more important than actually doing the work of like just hiring black people and giving them opportunities and jobs. And then I sold a movie last year. It's a sci-fi thriller about a black border agent that I wrote with one of my favorite straight people, and we're in the process of doing that. And then I was on a show that nobody's heard of called Empire for 2 seasons, for seasons 5 and 6. And that was a wonderful, really sort of educational and satisfying experience. And so, yeah, that's how we got here.
I love
And
that.
you know the girls are going to want to know if you were friends with Jesse, girl.
The girls are going to want to know if I was friends with Jussie Smollett. The girls can rest assured that, yes, I do love and adore Jussie Smollett, and I think he's a lovely man. So there you go.
Okay, excellent.
So there's a couple there things there we could pick up on. Like one, I think, is just the Empire tea. Like, you know, you wrote that amazing episode where Miss Jussie Smollett, you know, kind of revealed that, you know, or we found out that she was in a relationship with someone who was HIV positive. So just talking about those experiences are having to bring a bit of that, you know, true black queer experience to the show in that way. So yeah, curious about that from like that side of the
Well,
experience.
what was interesting about that particular space is that I wasn't the only black gay person in that room. There was another upper level writer who had been on the show since season 1, and there
Not
was
the only.
right, and there was another person, and of course there was Lee, who had been very much a part of the show, and Jussie is also a black queer person. So Jussie came to the room with the idea, and he was like, because there was another thing that people wanted to do, and he was like, what I think we should do is I want to tell a story about one guy having HIV and one guy not having HIV. And initially, I was actually rather against it. But once and for me, I think it was...
It's a story that is told a lot around black queerness, HIV.
Yeah, and like, are we saying that, and what are we saying about... And I think that, you know, HIV stigma is a thing that, like, exists in all of us. And so as I unpack my own HIV stigma and discomfort with telling that story, it was, are we going to... The story of what HIV looks like in this country isn't a wealthy musician. Like, if any one of us got HIV tomorrow, we would I'd ride on down to Pacific Oaks Medical Clinic in Beverly Hills, where my all-gay doctor staff would get me all the medication that I need, that my union health insurance would cover, and I'd be undetectable within 2 weeks. And my life might be slightly shortened, and I might be annoyed by having to take those antiretroviral medication. But people with privilege are not what HIV looks like now. People with privilege, like HIV, looks like you go to the city of Atlanta, where a third of the cases of HIV that come in are full-blown AIDS because people don't have access to PrEP and people aren't getting tested. You see that all throughout the South and in, you know, underserved, economically disadvantaged communities of people of color. In fact, the likelihood that most black gay men, that a black gay man will get HIV is 1 in 2.
1 in 2.
So you have to be, so I was concerned about that, and I was also just like, I was like, do we want to do that? Isn't there just another story we can tell? I just don't want it. It was my own HIV stigma, and I was like, look, put that shit down, and you have a unique opportunity to be really additive here. Because there are a bunch of people who, like, you know, these people don't know what PrEP is. These people don't understand that
one of the conversations that I felt like that we had when we were putting those episodes together was they were talking about how, they were like, why would Jamal be uncomfortable with Cookie asking him like about his boyfriend Kai's status, HIV status. And I was like, the thing I think you guys are missing here is that, I was like, the thing is that that's basically you asking me about my sex life. Mm-hmm. Like, that is your mom asking you, so who's getting fucked, and who's the top, who's the bottom, and are you using protection, and blah, blah, blah. And, like, I don't know that they have that kind of, and they didn't, that's a really serious conversation, like, uncomfortable conversation to broach with a parent. So there was that, and then there was helping everyone understand how PrEP worked, and how you can protect yourself. And I wrote a document that sort of explained all of the terms we were going to use. So, like, this is what serodiscordant means. These are the medications that you take. This is that. This is this. This is that. And so, and I'm really, really, really proud, even though I was hesitant at first, the episode that I wrote, I'm really, really proud of what we were able to put together. The episode that I wrote is Jamal and Kai falling in love. And then I assisted quite a bit with the episode written by my friends, Janika and Jashika James and Jamie Rosengard, which is the episode in which he has those conversations with Cookie. And what we loved about it and what we wanted to do about it was we wanted to explore auntie attitudes about HIV, and how a lot of these women aren't truly homophobic anymore, but they still have memories of Big Luther and their friend who died and their hairdresser and etc. And they're really scared for you, but they don't understand what they're talking about in the modern era, and what it would mean to, and how easy it is to, how a person with the right privilege can prevent HIV. And so that was great. And then Empire is also just sort of that's the gay shit. I mean, that's what we did in the gay show. I wrote Jesse's last episode, episode 517, which was the last episode. He did the wedding, and then we wrote him out of 17, and that was crazy because but it was we survived.
Yeah, you did.
So tell me, because you told me a little story about the episode where you guys talk about PrEP, and you talk about, that had some influence around the world. So can you just tell the girls a story about...
Of course. So Empire is Empire sort of was relevant, very, very relevant for like 2015, 2016 in the US, but it retains like a pretty significant international audience. And so one of the guys who's on the show was talking to someone who I guess works at a clinic in, I believe it's Nigeria. And people were coming in and asking for, suddenly there was this huge upswing in people coming in asking for PrEP. So they're like, well, I want PrEP, I want PrEP, I want PrEP. And the lab was like, the clinic was like, why are you, like, who told you what PrEP is? Like, where are we getting...
Who you hear this from?
Where'd you hear this from? And they were said it was from Empire. Because we made it a story point. We made it a story point in 504. And we made it a story point in 505 because we really wanted people to understand that, like, you can prevent yourself from getting HIV by taking these little blue pills every morning. And actually, the other person it inspired to get on PrEP is named Cameron Johnson. What? Because I was like, I've been bullshitting here, and like I had been practicing safe sex, or as safe sex as one can possibly practice. Yeah. But there came a point when I was like, okay, so all these other people are doing this and saying that they're protected, so why don't I just do this for myself? And the process of educating the room, or like helping the room understand, like the writer's room is what I mean, and helping the room understand like those gay issues and issues surrounding HIV, I ended up educating myself. So hey,
oh come on, saving lives out here. I love that.
That's what we're doing. We love to save a life.
Amen.
No, but I mean that really is amazing. I'm sorry, Mr. Deborah, go ahead.
Yeah, so actually I had so one of the things that you did a speech the other day, or actually a few months ago, right? Where
last year.
I think it was called that was in 2019. Okay.
It was in 2019.
Pre-Rona tea.
Yeah, it was posted. It was just posted this year though, right?
Yeah, they held it for a while. I wasn't not mad.
Yeah, so it's called Melanin Meetups. They have a cute YouTube page too. But one of the things that you said in the speech, you were talking about two black men loving each other on screen, and that love in fiction is a humanizing force. And so that really resonated with me. But what do you think we go from here in terms of that kind of representation, like two black men on screen? Because that was really, that was an important piece of that season of Empire.
And it's time to have this conversation right after the Noah's Ark reunion happened this past week.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I think that before we even talk about what that means, I think we need to talk about why it means. So when you look at black people, black gay men on TV, so I watched as much gay TV as I could like sneak into the downstairs of our house and watch but with the volume real low. Like they can't hear it. They can't hear
stairway.
Just checking on the stairway. There were 2 doors. I would close the top one so I could hear and then leave the lower one open. We were ready. So with that said, the thing about those experiences is that when you would see black gay men on TV, they were accessories. And so it was either, oh, he's got a really big dick and he's going to fuck the shit out of you. Or like, oh my God, he's with a black guy. Or it's Tay Diggs and he's got a tight sweater. Or it's Keith on 6 Feet Under. And his blackness is almost something that he fights against and that he's a part of this.
Police officer.
He's a police officer and he's with a white man who he beats up occasionally. So I mean there are many layers to the portrayal of Keith and the portrayal of many black gay men on TV. But what I think happens, and what I know happens, that you get into writers' rooms with white people who are very, very, very well-meaning, and they want to diversify their shows. And they think, okay, cool, so like let's give this white person a black partner, as if, because to them, having a black partner is like a creative exercise. It's like, oh God, well, it means it's like having a kicky haircut, or like, like a cane, like it's a character choice, and it makes you interesting in some way. But it never really ever tells the story of that black person. I don't remember the exact statistic that I quoted, but it's something like 70 to 80% of black people, period, full stop, only have black partners. Like whether that is they marry black people, they date only black people, an even higher percentage of gay black men only date or have sex with other gay black men. So what putting 2 black gay men on TV in love with each other does is it shows people who are watching. We just talked about the educational force of television earlier and how like people can learn from the shit. It forces you to reckon not with that person as an object, but as a human being who has emotions just like you do. I think Moonlight is a great example of that, in that you have you watch this sort of nerdy kid turn into a nigga, like a drug dealing, gold tooth wearing, Chevy Impala driving ass nigga who sells drugs and is in love with this dude and has been since he was a little kid. I had never seen a gay man like that before, and it forces you to remember that those people are human, that those people fall in love, that those people experience pain, and maybe that might make it a little more difficult for you to call the cops on them, and maybe it might make it a little more difficult for you to shoot them in the parking lot, and maybe it might make it for having their music too loud. I think it for white people, it shows a different side of our humanity, and for us, it allows us to be people absent the gaze of whiteness or defining ourselves through that. So in terms of where we go from here, I think that there are a lot of white people, a lot of showrunners, a lot of black people as well, who are like trying to get TV on the air. And the choice that you can make is not to make your black characters accessories, but like to make your black characters fully realized human beings who are perhaps in love with people who look like them. Because the other incredibly dangerous narrative that I think a lot of us engage in, especially in Hollywood, is that interracial relationships are somehow a mark of progress, and they're not. It just means you found a white man's ass to eat, or he did some squats, or y'all were vibing over the Carly Rae Jepsen album, and you were like, do you enjoy Missy Elliott? And he was like, yes, I do enjoy Missy Elliott. And you've decided you can put up with eating unseasoned chicken breast for the rest of your life. You've decided you can do that, but it's not progress.
Bro, those sound like really personal examples, girl. I don't know. Those sound like
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
When you said that Carly Rae Jepsen, I know you're a stan. So that
I want to cut to the feeling. My God. But I love me some Carly. But with that said, I stay at being one of 4 black people at a Carly Rae Jepsen concert, and I don't care. Well, with that said, that's my point, is that that's not progress. That's just a relationship choice. And so by reframing love for black people around just black people are loving each other, and like we are forced to watch and identify with that love and experience that love with them, I think is incredibly powerful. So I hope our artists continue to do that. I know I'm going to.
And Noah's Ark. Did you girls watch Noah's Ark yet?
I
The
did watch
reunion
the
show?
Noah's Ark
Hmm.
reunion.
Oh, so do you think you think it'll get picked up, or what do you think? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know if that's Patrick's goal. Patrick is a friend of mine, so I don't know where he's Patrick Ian Polk, the creator of Noah's Ark, the godfather of the first person to put a cast of black gay men on TV. But I don't know where that would go or like what more story there is to tell right now. But I know that he did that. What he did was
Yeah, he
that.
did.
Yes.
It was
And there
amazing.
you
Yeah.
go.
I mean, but I think there's something there about that because we're in this moment and you're talking about, the educational power of Hollywood because, recently was a letter from, the writers, the Black Committee and the Writers Guild kind of to Hollywood saying, okay, all you studios and networks, you've all come out to say that Black Lives Matter, that you care about us and you care about our employees and all this and third. Then hire us. Then start changing. Then actually start putting your money where your mouth. Actually really make real systemic change. So one piece is like thinking about that. Like, what do you think about that? And just in general, there's been these more conversation I think as of late about Black writers in Hollywood not being able to move up or not getting promoted or just being in that room to maybe help write that interracial romance story. But then that's it. So just curious in general what you see about like Black Hollywood and where it might go from here, because that's kind of how those stories get told. It's like they can't tell those stories without us because it's such a unique experience.
Well, you can always tell. Whenever I've read a script, there've been a couple. There's one movie I was called in to rewrite. I was interviewing to rewrite, and I read it, and it was very much. I don't want to go into too many details, but basically, like,
I don't want nobody send me an email later.
I don't want to get any texts or tweets or whatever. But basically, like, it was a story that needed to be incredibly black. It was about like some black culture shit. It was about some stuff that like if you don't have it, you don't really understand it. And it was a white director and a South Asian woman who had decided to write this really, really black thing. And you could read it through and you look at and it's like, it wasn't that it was bad. It wasn't that any of it was like offensive. It was just, oh, well, if your audience is black people, that's not what this is. Like, that's not this experience. And so you actually don't know what you're talking about. And so it was a lot of that.
It's so subtle. Like, it's so subtle the ways in which our culture works that like, even just the conversation, the way me and Miss Devereaux talk, there's times when I get messages where it's like, it took me a minute to understand what you all were saying from the context, and that's just that's Black queer, like that's a whole nother layer, like just beyond what
Levels.
Black culture and Black people. So Hollywood really can't tell those stories, or how do you really make those change without having more people in the room to help make that happen?
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of like getting jobs and promotion, there's sort of a hierarchy to writers' rooms that writing that goes in levels. So there's like staff writer, which is the lowest level. There's story editor. Then there's co-producer and producer and supervising producer and executive producer. So just simplify that down. And as you go up those ranks, there are significant pay increases, like your salary, and there are also significant experiential increases in terms of like what people are willing to allow you to do and how people trust you. So what you see happen to a lot of people of color is that they get stuck at the lower levels. They get stuck at staff writer, they get stuck at story editor or something like that, because a lot of them actually don't even make it out of staff writer, or they have to repeat staff writer over and over and over again because they just don't get promoted, either because there was a diversity program that they got in through and the diversity programs pay for them for a year and then let them go, or they pay for them for a year and then when the show has to pay for them for real, they don't want to do it anymore, or they just aren't able to vibe in the room. The job of being in a writer's room and the job of being a writer are completely different tasks that have very little to do with each other. And so there's no like clear training for that. And a lot of Black people come to this business later in life. We come older, we come slightly more established. And I've been fortunate that I've been almost entirely, my career in staffing has been on Black shows. So BET was my first job, and Empire was my second job. And we literally were ordering Jamaican food and eating chicken and listening to Too Short in the room. Like,
Come on, Oxtail.
and they were delicious. But that like to do like, but and we're so in those spaces, like your voice counts, and I've been very fortunate to work for a lot of people who have given me the opportunity, who have promoted me, who've given me opportunity, who've said, yes, Cameron, you can produce your episode. Yes, Cameron, you can write this. Yes, you can do. I mean, so I'm incredibly grateful to, you know, Brett Mahoney and Erica Montalvo-Bura and Lee Daniels and all of those people who for giving me, and also all of the people who've taken, and Deborah Martin Chase, who fucking started my career. And those are who, and so that's it. And that's sort of what that looks like. So what's going to happen though, is that people are going to have to make an intentional effort to get outside of their networks. So if one of my shows got picked up tomorrow, I know exactly who I would want to call to staff on that room. And now I'm fortunate that I know a lot of people. I know a lot of black people. I know a lot of black writers. I know a lot of white people. I know a lot of white writers. But the white person who is in that same boat has to work a little harder to ensure that there's not just one black person in their room, to ensure there's not just two black people in their room, to ensure that like they bring people in. And a lot of them say it's too hard, but we do exist if you know who to call. And so it's that's the challenge, is are people going to put their money where their mouth is over and over and over and over again, even if it means not hiring your friend, or even if it means putting in a little extra work.
Yeah.
And you actually mentioned in that video, you said that only 2% of the Writers Guild is African American. It was something like 300 out of, you know, probably tens of thousands of people.
I mean, there's not tens of thousands of people in the Writers Guild, but there are many thousands of people in the Writers Guild of America, and 2% of them are black. And we're talking about 400 people. Like and a lot of them, and it can just be very difficult, because a lot of times black people aren't brought in just because they're funny or they're good writers. They're brought in because, oh, well, there's a black character, so we need this. But there's no reason why. I'm not going to name names, but there are a number of shows that could use that don't have black people on them, or on their staffs, that could use a few black people. Because we don't do that to white people. We don't say white people can't write black stories, but we do say, even though black people we have to understand whiteness in order to survive.
Mm-hmm. And I do think it's interesting, because I've read some reports that both like the Guild and different universities have put out, and it's even better for TV writers than film writers, or screenwriters. It's even worse for them. So that.
Oh yeah, film writing is like film writing is low key a dying industry. Like it's a hard thing to do, and it's a hard thing to break into, and it's hard to make a career out of that. And so TV is really, if you think about like what your favorite independent films were, and like I think of like 1 Hour Photo in 2001 with Robin Williams, and where he plays like the stalker guy, like that would be a limited series now. That would be a Netflix show. And so so TV is the new indie film, and TV is where a lot of people are able to build their careers. And so, hey, I love television. Yay. It's fun to sell.
Oh, wow. Well, I know we could talk forever, but because we'll have to have you back on. But I don't know, Ms. Devereaux, do you have any?
Oh, girl, I was just gonna tell y'all, girls, like when I was 21 and I went and I was in New York City in the summer. I had just turned 21, girl. Miss Patrick Ian Polk, girl, she made a girl feel beautiful, girl. Back then. I should tell you that. Yeah, she really did.
Oh my! Did you have the gray contacts in? Were you dating black men at that point?
I sure did have the gray contacts in that summer, girl.
Yes, you did.
And I was connected to Miss Patrick Ian Polk by somebody, girl, and we. You know, she always just told me how beautiful I was, how this and that. And I'll never forget that.
You mean in person?
In person, yeah.
Oh, you know what's funny is that actually Patrick I don't know he remembers that, but he was one of the early people I met when I came to LA. I think I interviewed to try and be his assistant. And yeah, it was just nice to just meet him, because I think both, especially for me and Miss Devereaux, for when we were in school, like Noah's Ark was like, I feel like we were in school at a time where we wanted to see ourselves, and also being a city that was very diverse. And like that was a viewing. If anyone hadn't seen it, it's like, oh no, girl, we all got to watch it again. Like watching, you know, there were only a couple episodes because there were only a couple seasons of her. But she was special. And it's wild to me to think about how we still beyond.
We haven't recreated that. We haven't recreated that on
we
TV. We
even don't, and I don't know if you, I mean, we even don't even have really that many LGBT. We have characters, but in talking about shows that really front LGBT
the challenge
characters,
of TV shows that are
the
gay
challenge
TV
of
shows
gay.
Now, the challenge of gay is fiber supplementation. But in addition to that, the other challenge of gay TV is like that we're sort of past the point in TV where TV shows about gay people should just be about the fact that they're gay. Like
coming out. I don't need to see it anymore.
Queer folk is about being gay. It's like, oh my God, they're gay and they're going to dances, you know, to an extent, like, you know, to an extent, Noah's Ark is about the fact that these characters are gay. Like, that's part of what's revolutionary about it. And even if you go back and watch Patrick's first movie, Punks, the first 10 minutes of Punks, you're like, oh, wow, I've never heard this before. It's four black queer friends sitting around talking, rating, like, the hot male celebrities of the day. Like, would you fuck Tupac? Yeah, Tupac could get it, but, you know, Dre is really where it's at. Like, it's like, okay, we've never seen this before. Like, that's really cool. And so I think the challenge now is how do we move beyond they're gay as a TV show and make it into and make things that are a bit more, stories that are a bit more perhaps advanced. And so, yeah. Fun.
But you're doing the work, boo. I mean, you're part of it. So I think that's why I'm so happy to have you on. And, you know, I adore you. Because
we appreciate you, girl. We really appreciate you, girl, and telling our stories. Honestly, it's so important. It really is.
Thank you. Well, Miss Dexter, I appreciate you. And Monica, I think you've done a wonderful job here. And, like, that's great.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we're going to leave that there. So we'll start wrapping up the show. So no listener mail this week. But as always, you can send any mess, emails, comments to Ask Them, ASKTHEM at twosafequeens.com. You can also leave us a voicemail at 323-438-2827. Don't be scared. So now I think we can go into our thoughts and prayers. And as our guest, if you're not sure, but just to reiterate, like, thoughts and prayers are that moment where you just it's their rants. But, you know, a thought, if you have something, you know, that you just need to get off your chest about someone, somebody, something, and then a prayer, just something that you just want the girls to keep in their hearts and their minds. So if you need a minute to think about it, one of us could go in your stead.
You know, I think that I would like to send out thoughts and prayers to the tempted and horny of COVID. I know that this is a difficult time. There are a lot of people out there, you know, looking at a grinder grid, you know, maybe teasing themselves. They're tired of OnlyFans. They're tired of porn. Even the OnlyFans girls are tired of their OnlyFans. They're not even updating anymore. They're just like, fuck it, I'm trapped here. There's nothing we can do. And so what I would hope for you is that you are blessed with either like a good fleshlight with a water-based lube, because you got to wash it out. It's careful. Or just like a COVID sex partner that you could do that with, because random dick is not worth it in this moment. Maintenance sex is not worth it. So I'm praying for strength for you, because the last thing I think you would want to feel is if you went to somebody's house and had, you know, a 10-minute uncomfortable kiss-free sexual encounter on a mattress on a floor, for instance, and then the next day you woke up with a cough and a headache and a fever, I think you'd feel really fucking stupid. So if you are going to break quarantine for dick or hole or head or face, or just to look at, or just to have the scent of a man on your pillow, then make sure it's worth it. And the question is, if you're wondering whether or not it's worth it, it probably isn't. So those are my thoughts and prayers, are to the thirsty, horny hoes of quarantine.
Wow, that's good.
Stay strong, girls.
Miss Deborah, you want to go next, or you want me to go?
Yeah, you can go ahead, girl. Go ahead, Amin.
Yeah, mine are so eclectic, as normal. First, I got some thoughts for Bubba Wallace, holding it down.
Call
with
me.
NASCAR over there.
That's
he
my
is kind of fine, no lie. But Miss DJT just came for him, because she loves to come for a black man. Basically calling the news that it was a goddamn news. Like, y'all out here playing games. Fuck what the FBI said. But
No, they did. Yeah, it was a news.
I mean, we saw the picture. It was fucking news. And basically saying it's a hoax and that this black man should apologize. And Bubba, girl, you took that high road. You put a whole little, like, you know, oh, we need love. And I'm just here trying to do a good job. And Miss NASCAR, y'all fucking spineless assholes. All you can say is, oh, we stand with them. And okay, but you're not going to actually denounce what this fucking president the white ass president said about this man. So keeping Bubba in my thoughts, because it's wild that this is the world we live in, where our president just attacks a black man every other week. My prayers, I got quite a few prayers for Miss Asia, because Miss Hong Kong, she is oh girl, she's going through it. We're on TikTok, as y'all know, at To Say Queens, and she recently had to move her headquarters out of Hong Kong because China is taking her over with their new security law. That is, from that, they are asking a lot of the tech companies to basically give them data and information on people who have been protesting and fighting for democracy, a thing that America used to do back in the day, pre-Trump. So really keeping my prayers for them, because it's really hard over there. And then this last one is just for Miss Summer Taylor, who is they're a trans person who recently lost their life while protesting for Black lives. I've been seeing some conversations about them, but people are really putting their lives on the line, and just definitely wanted to give them some space in your hearts and minds.
Yeah, and I have a pretty serious one too on the same note. There's a Black queen in Detroit here who was murdered, 30 years old, DeAndre Watson. And actually, he was the first Black male student body president at the University of Michigan. And he was actually headed to University of Michigan Law School this fall, but he was killed in a murder-suicide here in Detroit allegedly by Deontez Jones, who also then killed himself. I don't know the circumstances behind it. I don't know whether they were, together or not together, whether it was trade or whether I don't know anything about it, but I just pray for that girl's family because it was such a tragic loss. This girl was huge in legislative politics here locally, with our city council here in Detroit and, even at the statewide level. And I think she was going big places, and it's just such a tragic loss, not just by virtue of her station in life, but also just because she was just also a really good person. Actually, my brother is friends with her. And it was just a real tragic loss. It's all over our local news. But DeAndre Watson, we send our thoughts and prayers to her and her family for her loss. So.
Yeah. We're in this moment, y'all. So sorry to take it down a little bit after our wonderful talk. But, keep going. We gotta keep going. So that's our show. Thank you as always for spending a little bit of time with us. Thank you to our extra special first guest, Mr. Cameron Johnson.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok until China takes her over at To Save Queens. And where can the children follow you, Mr. Johnson?
You can follow me at Cameron J. Awesome. Yes, Cameron J. Awesome on all platforms.
And we are also on every podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. So don't forget to rate us and review us. Helps get us in front of more people. And with that, we will see you next week. Ms. Devereaux, do you have a final word for the children?
Yeah, so if you're going to fuck around, only let it hit a trick. Hit it from the back, girl, during COVID. And wear a mask. Only from the back, though. Okay? Bye, girls.
Bye.
Disgusting.